Hey YouTubers, just another quick video showing off the latest addition to my study environment. That addition being the Amiga 500. This is actually my second computer that I ever owned. I had to restore it. It was in pretty bad shape. It was in the garden shed for many years. Had to retrobrite the case and get rid of the yellowing on the case. But all in all, I think it's come up quite well. It's got a couple of additions. To the left here you can see it's got the individual computer's ACA 500 accelerator, which allows you to boot off compact flash cards. This one's the Workbench 3.1 boot card, and this particular one here is a FAT32 formatted card, so I can transfer files between my PC and the Amiga 500, so it makes life a lot easier. I can't recommend the ACA 500 enough. Even on its own, it gives you a 68020 processor at 14 or 16 megahertz, can't remember the exact figure, plus another 2 megabytes of fast RAM. So even on its own, just to have that with the ability to boot off compact flash like the Amiga 1200 and the Amiga 600 and many of the other Amigas can do is an absolute godsend. Coupled with that, I've also got the individual computer's ACA 1232 accelerator. This one's got a Motorola 68030 processor at 25 megahertz. It's also got 128 meg of fast RAM. So all up, this computer's got around about 130 meg of fast RAM. The ACA 500 also gives me the ability to turn my slow RAM in the trapdoor expansion, 512K slow RAM and trapdoor expansion, into chip RAM. So all up, I've got 1 meg of chip RAM. If I open this device, I've actually got another individual computer's product. If I can get the case open here. That product's being the Indivision ECS. Now this device is fantastic. Just the ability to be able to connect your Amiga to any off-the-shelf LCD monitor without having to worry about 15 kHz sync rates is absolutely brilliant. So basically you remove the Denise chip. It can be an OCS or an ECS Denise chip, it doesn't matter. You fit the Indivision in the socket that the Denise chip comes out of, and you carefully plug the Denise chip back in on top, and that gives you full ECS Denise. So you get the additional graphics modes that the ECS Denise can support. Definitely a recommended device for anyone struggling to find a monitor to use with their Amiga 500 or 600 or 1200. No, 1200. Yeah, 1200 uses a different one. That'll use the AGA Indivision, but definitely a recommended device. So without further ado, I'll turn this on for everyone, give you an idea on how it runs. Flip the switch here. You can see the individual computer's Indivision ECS boot screen, which then goes into the ACA 500 configuration menu. Now you've got a couple of options here. The good thing about the ACA 500 is it gives you Kickstart ROM 1.3 and Kickstart ROM 3.1 all licensed, so you don't have to worry about Kickstart ROMs. In fact, you can actually, as far as I know, you can remove the Kickstart ROM chip from your Amiga 500 completely, and the machine will still boot up and run just fine on the Kickstart ROM supplied by the ACA 500. Now you've also got expert mode. There's a couple of settings there. Look, I won't go too far into it. I'll just do a bit of a screenshot there so you can have a look. But it is a very configurable piece of hardware, but I won't go into that too much now. So we'll boot into our Kickstart ROM 3.1 configuration into Workbench 3.1 with the Scalos desktop. You can see the ACO 500 reading the compact flash card, and we're at the desktop. So I'll do a bit of a sysinfo just to give you an idea of how quick the machine runs. You can see it's actually quite a snappy little Amiga 500. If we go to Tools, I think it's under, what's the one? Sysinfo. You can see down the right hand side there that we've got ECS Agnes with 1 mega chip RAM, ECS Denise, and the 68030 Motorola processor. So we'll do a bit of a speed test. Okay, and here you can see in terms of dry stones we're pulling 5,637 dry stones and 5.88 MIPS, which when you compare this ACO 1232 accelerator with older accelerators that actually have FPUs installed, this is actually right up there with them. I'm not sure why that's the case. I think it's because the ACO 1232 has more modern fast RAM on it and is therefore a little bit more efficient. I'm not sure. But if we expand this, you can see that's actually quite a quick machine. This particular Amiga 500 is now slightly faster than an Amiga 3000 with exactly the same processor, which is quite impressive. And you can see there, down the right hand side, 68030, 25 megahertz. So the same processor, the Amiga 500 is slightly faster than an Amiga 3000, which I think is exceptional. It brings the Amiga 500 back up to where I believe it should be. I was a person, of course, actually with this being my second computer, that grew up in the era of the Commodore Amiga, and in the day the 500 was the machine to have, until the 1200 came out, although I'd sort of got out of the scene a little bit by then. But to me, the Amiga 500 was always the pinnacle of the Commodore Amiga. It was maybe not technology wise, maybe not power or performance wise, but in terms of the history of the Amiga, I think it was at its peak at around about the time the Amiga 500 was shipping. So I think it's fantastic that individual computers have managed to bring it back up in the front line with the Amiga 1200s, the Amiga 600s and so forth. Now if we get out of this, I'll show you how WHD load runs, and you can see up the top there Amiga 3.1 ECS 030, meaning a 68030 processor, ECS meaning enhanced chipset, and we've got just under a mega chip RAM and a little over 130 mega fast RAM. So I'll fire up iGame. And we'll have a look at a couple of games here. What can we see? Alien Breed. I'll attempt to have a bit of a move around the game, give you an idea on how it runs. Grab my TAC2 here and try and use it while I'm holding the camera at the same time. And we're into the game. So as you can see, it loads quite fast. Go start game. And this is going to be difficult to do while I film at the same time, so bear with me. Yeah, very difficult. Probably not my finest game ever, but it gives you an idea on how the machine runs. So there we have one game, just to give you an idea on how it runs. So I get out of that. Give something else a shot here, just to give you a bit more of an idea. Lemmings was always a favourite of mine. Good part about me showing you Lemmings is that I can use the mouse, so I don't have to try and use a joystick. Sorry, I'm trying to use the mouse at the same time I film. So that gives you an idea on how Lemmings runs. We'll just nuke them all now. Sorry, little lemmings. So that gives you an idea on how iGame runs. So I've got a bit of some demos on here. State of the art demo. So as you can see, it runs the demos easily. So I think that gives you a bit of an idea on how it runs demos. You know, I don't know why it comes up with that exception. It does that every time I exit that demo. I'm not sure why, but it runs fine. So as you can see, just moving through the desktop even, it's quite quick. Very snappy machine. Preferences. What else have we got? Programs. So there's no slowdown at all. Everything runs snappy and fast the way it should. So there you go, people. I hope you enjoyed the little introduction and review of my Amiga 500 with the individual computers ACA 500, ACA 1232, and of course the Indivision, which connects it to the monitor. See you next time.